rest of the story in this video will continue with the academic competitions and the place they play, specifically our science academic competitions. You'll recall, again, we do these competitions because they open up doors of opportunity, intellectual opportunities, academic opportunities. They raise the ceilings so some of our better students can go as far as they'd like to go and as much time as they want to put in. They're inclusive, so all of the children can participate and they get the benefit of it. They're immersive. So over a several month period, they're immersed in the scientific method, working on their experiment until it's ready to be judged by teachers or by young scientists that have done judging before. Everyone participates and therefore everyone grows. Now, let me say a little bit about our science program. I think this is important to understand the competitions that we choose. And I'll use an example of a parent years ago asking me, because their child was very bright, they enjoyed science, and they said, was a third grade student, and they said, could he get a fourth grade textbook? With the assumption that because he's a bright student, he likes science, he can advance in science by taking more and more studies and textbooks on various topics. And that's typical. That's the way most science is done. But it misses the central part of what science is all about. And that is learning the inductive method of thinking. So what we want our students to do at Birchwood is, first, we understand there is no way, even if you go all the way through college, that you're going to know any field of science to any degree that would qualify you to practice. But by learning the scientific method, by learning the method of inductive thinking, the doors are open to take your exploration of science and as it applies to other parts of life without ending. So what we want the children to do, and you'll see this at Science Night, some of the projects are, in a way, they're hilarious, but they all follow the same process. One, you make observations. You collect data, you organize the data, you begin to have questions about the data, begin to wonder, do I need more data? You may even want to test out your data, form some hypothesis, maybe do some background reading on your data, and then come up with a legitimate experiment that takes care of the dependent and independent variables, allows for an abundance of practice, to see whether or not what you're guessing is true or not, to document all your findings through the testing, to post them, to share them, to create graphs, create presentations. The entire process of inductive thinking and the scientific method is at the heart of what we want children to learn. So we begin, of course, with the science fair in school, and everyone participates, 1st through 8th. They all go through the process. I really tip my hat to Linda Brown and the other science teachers who have been able, even with the youngest children, Mrs. Bettino and Mrs. Miller, all the work they do with those little children to compel them to think inductively is just amazing. And I hope you pay attention to that when you go to the science fair in a couple of weeks. Well, should they do well, especially the older children, then they may go on to other competitions. And so within school, we do our own science fair. That's just our own judging and our own assessment of how the children have done. Some of the older students choose to go on to other and qualify for different levels of science competition, where they bring what their experiments, their findings onto a higher stage. If they do well at Birchwood, they can go on to district science fairs. There's 16 of them in Ohio. If they do well in that competition, then they can go on to the Ohio State Fair, where they also will be able to participate with all the top experiments throughout the state. And again, can apply everything that they've learned and compete against the very, very best. Also in school, we do Science Olympiad. Grades 4, 5, and 6, where it's the most populated contest in Ohio. And Ohio is one of the top 4 or 5 for participation in the whole country. But again, what are they doing? They get certain categories of topics that they can study, read about, propose experiments, and then go ahead and experiment. And then what they do at the day itself is demonstrate what they have found, what they have done. There's some testing involved. But again, you see, they do it for several months, and then they go to the competition. If you recall, the competition day itself is not nearly as important as the fact that they have been working on the scientific method and working on inductive thinking for a couple of months so that they're ready to participate. Now, should they do well at some of these competitions, going from the school, the district, and the state, then there's some others. There's called the Northeast Ohio Science and Engineering Fair. I'm reading from the signatures brochure. And this particular contest is affiliated with the Intel International Science and Engineering Fair, where children can display their work in all of the STEM areas. They also can go on to Broadcom Masters, which is a national competition for 6th through 8th graders. And this program is designed also to inspire and encourage the nation's best and brightest in science. So you can see both things. We immerse the children in the process of inductive thinking and the scientific method, and to develop the thinking skills that go with that. But at the same time, there's opportunities to lift the ceiling as high as some students want to go. And we have had students who reach the very top of these competitions. But everybody gets the value of them. That's the beauty of this, is to the extent that you're able, or to the extent that you have an interest, you can pursue your studies of science in the inductive method and the scientific method. It's a wonderful program. And I hope you come to the science night. I believe it's in 2 Fridays. I think you'll enjoy from the youngest 1st grade projects all the way up to the 8th graders. Thank you.